Hello, creative minds. Welcome back to EasySewing with Tyke. If you love creating unique fashion pieces, then you're in the right place. In today's tutorial, I'll be guiding you through the process of cutting and sewing this beautiful, stylish, asymmetric gathered dress with a gathered or a pleated bodice. This design is perfect for adding a touch of elegance to your wardrobe. And if you're new here, my name is Tayo, and I'm thrilled to have you join us. You're welcome. To my amazing returning subscribers, thank you for your constant support. I appreciate you also so much. Now grab your sewing tools and let's dive right into this exciting project. Starting off with the front upper bodice, the part labeled A in the picture you can see on your screen. This line here is the start point line. That is where I'm starting on my vertical measurement from. And that sign represents that when I'm cutting this on fabric, that place has to be on fold. And that is the center front as well. The first vertical measurement I imputed is the chest line, and the formula together will be showing on your screen, while the second one is the half length, which also doubles as the waistline, which is 17 inches, and this measurement can be gotten while taking the body measurement. Moving on to the horizontal measurements, and the first one is the shoulder measurement. So the shoulder measurement divided by 2. In this case, the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 16 inches. 16 inches divided by 2, I have 8 inches. So I took the same measurement on the chest line and I ruled a straight line across that way. On the same chest line, I went ahead to impute the bust measurement divided by 4, and on the waistline, I went ahead to impute the waist measurement divided by 4, and I connected it together this way. From the start point, I came down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope, and from the chest line, I came up by 2 inches, after which I went in by ½ inch. I'm plotting the front armhole curve. Then I'm just going to connect the 3 points together this way using the armhole curve and the ruler. Moving on to the neckline, I'm working with the neck dimension of 3 inches by 3½ inches. This is a basic round neckline. If you want yours a bit higher, then you can work with 3 by 3 inches or 3 by 2.5 inches. Then I went ahead to connect it together this way using a curved ruler. Afterwards, I connected the neckline to the shoulder slope this way. So when transferring to the fabric, I'll be adding ½ inch for the shoulder joining allowance, and I'll be adding sewing allowance as well. The front upper bodice has a band, so I'll be deducting that band from this half length upper bodice, and the band height that I want is 1.5 inches. You can work with 1 to 2 inches, but I'm working with 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to subtract it from what I have here. I'll be cutting it out separately and I'll be attaching it later during sewing. Now, to achieve that gathers at the center of the upper bodice, I decided to use a slash and spread method. So I want the length of the gathers to be 8 inches. I just added 1 inch to my bust span measurement, which is 7 inches. So on fold that way, I went ahead to mark out 4, and then I divided that 4 into half inch. That is the point you can see there. Then I also determined where I want the pleat, where I want it to stop. Of course, I don't want it to get all the way into the neckline, so I came down by 1 inch beneath the neckline. Then I went ahead to connect the lines like this all the way. So I discovered that when I divided the length where I want the gathers to be into half inch like this, the pleat I was able to get at the end of the day was not as pronounced as when I divided it into 1 inch. As you can see from the picture of the screen, which is the black dress, the pleats were more pronounced, and that is because I divided it into 1 inch. As you can see, I'll leave it for a while. You can study the image, okay? So I would recommend that when you are making yours, don't divide it into half inch like I did here, but divide it into 1 inch so you can spread it more. Of course, it doesn't mean that if you divide it into ½ inch, you are still not going to achieve something nice. But I actually preferred it when I divided it into 1 inch. And it's time to cut it out. So I've gone ahead to separate the band, as you can see. Then I'll go ahead and cut off what I have there, slash through the lines. then go ahead and transfer to the fabric. So this is me just slashing through the line. It's easy, just cut through the lines. Then you have to cut it here through to the armhole, but not all the way, so that you will be able to spread it. You can go back and study the other one I made, which is the black. You will see that I have to cut it there too. If not, you won't be able to spread this. So this is it. I've gone ahead to spread the pattern on the fabric. So if you study this and you compare it to the other one on the screen, you will see that I was not able to spread it as much as I was able to spread the black. Yes, I think that is because the lines that I created for the slash and spread were too tiny. So the next thing that I did was just to add my half-inch sewing allowance at the shoulder, then 1.5 inch sewing allowance at the side. So I have excess in length there, and that is on purpose. Okay, by the time I'm done doing the gathers, the plates, I'll go ahead and we measure the half length measurement, which is now 15.5. I've removed 1.5 inch for the band. So I will measure it and cut it out. It is better that way, because if you go ahead and cut it out at the exact line, by the time you are done making the gathers, there might be shortage in your measurement. Then I'll go ahead and note where the gathers is going to stop. I'll go ahead and notch it. This will guide me when sewing. Now to cut out the part label B. The part label B is a 180-degree flare. You can cut it as an A-line too, but the one I made in this tutorial is 180-degree flare. So now we'll go ahead and cut that. So to fold your fabric, you want to go ahead and fold your fabric into 2, then fold it into 4 in a triangular format that way. But do not fold it all the way to the end, so you can have that space that would serve as the zipper allowance. Just follow through with how you can see me fold this on the screen. So to cut out any flare, we actually need the radius, and the formula to get the radius will be showing on your screen. So just go ahead and measure out the radius this way from the point. From that triangle point, go ahead and measure out the radius from one end to the other end this way. Then go ahead and cross check this way. When you take this measurement, what you should have, it should be your waist measurement divided by 4 plus sewing allowance. Afterwards, go ahead and measure out the length. So the length that I'm working with is 9 inch, but I'm adding ½ inch to join it to the gathers part that I use the pattern fabric for. That is why I have 9.5 there. Then at the upper part also, I make sure that I add ½ inch that I'm going to use to join this to the upper bodice. After which I went ahead to cut it out. Now this is what I have, so I'll go ahead and divide it that way, so I can have the front separately from the back, because we still need to work on the front. As you can see, the center of the front flare went up a bit, so that is what we are going to try to replicate. So I'll be coming up by 3 inches, but at the end of the day I came up by 3.5. Then I just try to draw out the curve this way. Now if you are making this for the very first time, I will advise that you do this on your pattern paper first, so that if there's any error with the curve, you can always adjust it. All right, but this is what I have. So I ended up altering it a bit, as you can see. Now I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out and show you what I have. So this is what I have. It's giving me what I want, but I'll go ahead and adjust that center that formed that V cut that way. So I've adjusted it and I'm happy with what I have. I can go ahead and set this aside. Now to the back upper body. So I have my fabric on fold here, and I've already ruled out the zipper allowance. So your zipper allowance can be 1 inch or 1.5 inches. Now I'll go ahead and impute the half length, the back half length, and I'll roll it across. Afterwards, I'll also impute the chest line. You can use the same measurements that we used for the front. I'll measure that and roll it across as well. After which I'll go ahead and impute the shoulder measurement divided by 2. I'll be rolling it across on the start point and on the chest line. I'm starting this measurement after the zipper allowance. Okay, so do not do the mistake of including your zipper allowance. Then on the chest line, I'll input the bust measurements divided by 4 and also the sewing allowance. And on the waistline, that way I'll input the waist measurement divided by 4, the dart allowance, the sewing allowance, and the zipper bulge intake half-inch allowance. All right. From the start point, I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope, and what I have there, I'll be dividing it into two. Then I'll be connecting the 3 points together, and this is how to draw out the back armhole. It's a bit different from the front. Then for the back neckline, the back dimension that I'm working with is 3 by 6. I want the back neckline to be a V-shaped neckline. So 3 by 6.5 rather. You can work with this or choose another neckline of choice. Afterwards, I'll go ahead and connect it together this way, the shoulder slope line. Then I'll be coming up by ½ inch the shoulder joining. Remember that I'm drafting directly on my fabric, so I have to put all my allowance here. Now to eliminate the zipper bulge, I'll be taking in ½ inch from the zipper allowance that way. This was the reason why I added ½ inch zipper bulge allowance to the waist measurement. Then also I'll be coming up by ½ inch on the waistline that way, and I'm just going to be slanting it towards the center or the bust span measurement. Doing these two things, you have eliminated the zipper bulge. The zipper on a dress like this is not going to bulge. So the back does not have a band. That is a personal choice. If you want, you can make yours to have a band. You just have to follow through the same thing we did for the front. But here, the back does not have a band. It is only the front that has a band. So I'll go ahead and
If you
cut
have
it
watched
out.
to this point and you are yet to subscribe, please kindly do so. Give this video a thumbs up, drop your questions or comment below. I love hearing from you. Also, don't forget to share this video with your friends so they can be a part of our creative community. Alright, now let's continue.
This is the fabric for the pleats. Okay, so to know the length, you just want to subtract your full gown length, you want to subtract the half length, afterwards subtract the flare length. So in my case, the full gown length, which is 60 minus 17 inches for the half length minus 9 inches for the flare. What I have left is the length of this fabric that I have here. So I added ½ inch for joining it to the flare and 1 inch for folding it at the end. Now for the width, it depends on the amount of fabric that you have and how full you want it to be. But the width that I used is 120 inches. That is roughly 3.5 yards. So you can see how mine is. If you want to use fuller, then it means you have to use more inches. And if you're fine with this, then you can use the 3.5 yards or the 120 inches like I did for the width. And here I have the pocket. The dimension is 13 by 13 inches. The first thing to do is to run a loose stitch from one end of the notched line to the other end that was notched. Afterwards, you just want to make your gathers manually, or you can use your gathers foot to run your gathers. Just make sure that you run your gathers from one notched end to the other notched end. And this is what I have, so just double check to make sure that it is the exact 8 inches the space that we left for the gathers. So like I said while cutting, what we have is in excess, so I'm just trying to make sure that I'm remeasuring now to make sure that what I have here now is 16 inches. You know, it's supposed to be 15.5 plus ½ inches, that's 16 inches. And after remeasuring, I'll make sure that I cut off the excess. Then go ahead and place your pattern on it this way, just to be sure that what you have is accurate. So what I have is a little bit more than ½ inch at the bottom. That way I'll just trim off the excess. And this is the band. I'm gonna have to transfer it to the fabric. I forgot to show you on the cutting table. I added 1.5 inch sewing allowance to the side. Then I added half inch at the upper part and at the lower part, and I have two of it. Okay, so ½ inch to join into the upper bodice and then ½ inch to join the band to the flare. Remember that I told you I cut out two of the bands so as to sandwich this upper body in between it, but take one of it. Make sure that the center of the band is matching up with the center of the upper bodice that way. Then go ahead and sew it from one end to the other end. And this is what I have. Now go ahead and place the other part of the band on it this way. Doing this will successfully hide all the rough and sewn edges, thereby creating a neat finish. Alright, and this is what I have after attaching the band. You can see how beautiful and how neat it is, and this is why I cut out two of the band. So I'll just go ahead and sew it together at the end this way. Remember that the band height that I'm working with is 1.5 inches. I will just go ahead and mark it that way. It will serve as a guide. Then I will notch the center of the flare. Then I'll make sure that the center of the flare it match up with the center of the band. And I'll go ahead and join the two together using half an inch from one end to the other end. And this is what I have. It is coming along nicely. Now it's time to neatly finish off the neckline. You can go ahead and use a bias or any other method of choice, but I'm using a facing. So off camera, I've gone ahead to cut out the facing for the front neckline. I aimed the lower part of the facing, and now I'm just attaching it to the neckline using half an inch. Afterwards, I'll make sure that I notch it all around as it is a curved sewing. Then I'll make sure that I top stitch to achieve a neat finish and to make sure that the facing lays properly. Moving on to the back upper bodice, I'll repeat the same process for the back neckline as well. I've gone ahead to cut out the facing. I would attach it using half an inch. I would notch and top stitch. And this is what I have. Afterwards, I would make sure that I sew off the darts neatly. Then just like I did for the front, I would go ahead and attach the lower flare to the upper bodice using half an inch. So this is what I have. Now I'll go ahead and join the two back together at the center back that way. Then I'll go ahead and attach the zipper off camera and show you what I have. Now this is what I have so far. You can see how beautifully fixed the zipper is. Make sure that the waistline match up that way, please, to achieve a neat finish. Now go ahead and join the front and the back together at the shoulder. I have also fixed a pocket to the front of camera. I've fixed pockets onto dresses a couple of times on this channel already. The link to those tutorials would be in the description box, and one of it would be on the screen, so you can just click on it in case you don't know how to go about it. But right now I'll go ahead and join the front and the back together at the shoulder using half an inch this way. Moving on, go ahead and join the front and the back together now at the sides. Go ahead and input the bust measurement, the waist measurement, and join it off at the sides. So make sure that you give your pocket a shape at that edge so that it does not end up interfering when you are about to attach the gathers onto the hem of the flare. Or if you want to leave it as a square like I did, make sure that you do not sew it down onto the flare part, okay? Just sew it separately this way so that when you want to attach the gathers, it would not interfere. Now this is what we have so far. Now for the gathers, go ahead and run your gathers either using your gathers foot or you run the gathers manually. I've gone ahead to do mine. Now it's time to attach it to the bottom of the flare. You just want to go ahead and attach it. Just be patient with it, especially that front part where we have the curved edge. Just go ahead and be patient, but attach it using half an inch. I'll go ahead and finish off mine off camera. If you have watched to this point and you are yet to subscribe, please kindly do so. Give this video a thumbs up, drop your questions or comment below. I love hearing from you. Also, don't forget to share this video with your friends so they can be a part of our creative community. For the sleeve, I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into 4 for the two sleeve. So I came down by 2 inches that way. This is just an extra for the puff sleeve because of the type of sleeve design I'm working with. Then after that 2 inches, I went ahead to measure the actual sleeve length that I'm working with, which is 9 inches plus 1 inches allowance for the hem, that is 10. Then I also marked out 4 inches, which is the cap height. The formula together will be showing on your screen. Then I went ahead to measure out 1 inch from the center this way. The reason why I'm measuring out this 1 inch you would get to know in a bit. Now you can go ahead and draft your basic sleeve. So I'll go ahead and input the bicep measurement on the cap height line that way and input the allowance. Please, the 1 inch is not inclusive in your bicep measurement, so take note of that. Then I will just mark a slanted line to the top of the sleeve that way, and I will divide it into two. Then just use my freehand or my curve ruler to draw the curve. But if you are new at sleeve sewing, I will not advise that you use this method. I have a detailed basic sleeve tutorial on this channel. The link will be showing on the screen, so you can check that out if you are new to sleeve cutting. Okay, at the end I'll just come in by 1.5 inch, then slant it all the way to the bicep measurement, because I do not want the hem of the sleeve to be fitted, alright, because of the style of sleeve that I'm making today. Then at the upper part that way, I am going to extend it like this into the 2 inches extra that I left. Just follow through with what you can see on the screen, alright. After which you can go ahead and cut out what you have. You would also divide the sleeve into two this way. Then measure 4 inches from the hem and also measure 1.5 inch or 2 inches depending on how big you want that space to be. So just go ahead and sew it off using the 1 inch. Now you can see the reason why I added 1 inch. Okay, so I'm going to stop my sewing right above the 1.5 inch space that I left and continue below the 1.5 inches space that I left. Okay, so the 1 inch allowance that I have that way, I'll go ahead and fold it this way. So this is the reason why I added 1 inch. If you know that you are going to weave yours, then you can add half inch here and just sew it down. So I'm going to repeat the same process for the two sides. Now take note, when you are making this sewing, make sure that it is neat, okay, because it's going to form a style line on the right side of the fabric. So at the point at which I extended this cap sleeve, okay, I'm just going to run a loose stitch on it and make out my manual gathers. Well, there's a lot of gathers on this outfit. Moving on, now go ahead and fold the hemline using the allowance you added. In my case, it is 1 inch, so I'm folding the sleeve hem by 1 inch. Now go ahead and make an 0.8 inch wide rope. So this is mine. Then you just want to pass in through that 1.5 inch space that we have there. Then you would have something like this. So in order to obtain a neat finish, here is what you want to do. You want to make sure that you sandwich one of the edge, all right, one of the edge of the rope. That way you want to make sure that you sandwich it inside the other one while the edge of the other one is folded. Just follow through with what you can see on the screen. Once you've gotten something nice and something firm and neat, then you can just go ahead and stitch it down. Okay, now this is what I have. The sleeve is ready to be attached. I've already done the manual stitch, so just locate the midpoint and make sure that it matches up with the shoulder line. Then go ahead and attach it this way. This is the one that I have attached already. Finally, make sure that you hem the bottom part of the gathers, okay? And voila, the dress is ready. And that's a wrap for today's tutorial. I hope you gained some valuable insight and enjoyed the process. I'd love to see how your project turns out, so be sure to share them with me on social media. You can find me as Easy Sewing with Tyke on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. See you in the next tutorial. Until then, take care and happy sewing. Bye.